We are live. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Monday Momentum. We are so glad you're here. You made it. And it's Monday, which means it's a whole new week. And for those of you like us who work from home, who are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, people that are putting all sorts of pieces together to make something magnificent and new that no one's ever seen before, welcome. We are here every Monday to motivate ourselves, motivate you. The idea is with the right kind of momentum, you have a great week and you slide into home base on Friday doing exactly the things that you would hope to do. If you start out with the wrong kind of momentum, like maybe not even get out of bed on Monday or let yourself get distracted by other things, who knows where you'll end up on Friday. And we want to move forward and move in the direction of our dreams. That's where we're doing it, and we're glad that you're joining us.
Magnificent.
So one of you guys needs to mute. I don't know who. We're here every Monday to motivate ourselves. You can't hear that. With the right kind of momentum.
Do you have YouTube on?
Yeah, I think that's coming from the YouTube on.
Okay, well, I'm going to mute. It's not doing it. Okay, Linda, why don't you introduce yourself? I'll go to YouTube.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Linda Kay here from New Hampshire, where, yes, it is finally starting to get spring. The windows are open. I'm so excited. Boy, it's just been a long time coming here. So I'm excited that it's Monday and looking forward to today's Monday Momentum. It's something that our topic is something that I've been thinking about for a really long time, yet I still find myself down in those trenches. So hopefully everyone that's listening to this, if they're stuck in the same boat, it's going to help motivate them to get out. Back to our panel here.
I'm gonna go ahead and I think Sarah's still trying to get. Did you get YouTube muted? She's muted.
Muted now.
Okay, you guys, that was interesting, and I have no idea what was going on, and I'm sorry about all of it. Sounds like
it happened to me too. You just didn't hear it. I didn't move through.
Yeah, well, I just closed everything except for this window, so it might have been me. I suppose it could have been. I don't know. I had a lot of interesting times trying to get this up and running this morning. So, Linda, thank you so much for covering. And unfortunately, I didn't really hear much of what you said because there was so much other stuff going on. Just introduce yourself, say hello, and then we'll see if we can pick it up from there.
James,
Linda did introduce herself. I'll go ahead and introduce myself real quick. I'm James McFadden. I am here in what is normally sunny southern Utah. But it is a nice rainy day outside. It's actually one of those really nice, all the fresh smells are coming up. It's one of our first rains coming into, is this spring? Is it really spring? I'm a marketing strategist. I do digital marketing, online marketing, and specifically getting ready to launch seemyspace.com, getting it out of beta here in the next 3 to 4 weeks. So happy to be here and ready to get this week going.
Cool. Well, thank you, James, and again, thank you, Linda. That was one of the things that can happen with Hangouts, and unfortunately, we sometimes just learn by the seat of our pants what's going to happen next. As far as I can tell, I'm not sure, and maybe later we'll understand. I had it open in Windows. So for me, and maybe not for you, the viewers, but for me, I was hearing myself delayed over and over again. You know, I have to live with it. I don't want to hear it anymore than necessary. So this week's topic, we were going to talk about working on your business instead of in it. And for some people, that might be a new idea. What does that even mean? And so I want to spend a couple minutes in the beginning just sort of defining what do you mean when you say working on business versus in it. But I think the whole topic comes from the tendency or the pattern that I way, where people start a business because of wanting to be free, wanting to be their own boss, and things like that. And then they end up being a slave to their business. It owns them. It's like they've got their own private job now, but it's not really a whole lot different, and it's actually maybe worse or harder or more hours than when they were an employee. So, Linda, why don't you start and tell us a little bit about how you believe that working on your business versus in it can really help with that syndrome and other ideas about it.
Well, Sarah, about 10 years ago, I read this book that, boy, I wish I'd have taken it to heart just a little bit more. But it was really interesting in that it talks about, well, let me show you the book. It is the E-Myth and the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And like I said, I must have read it probably 10 years ago. And I just picked it up again this weekend, taking a look at it. It's a nice story about a woman who's struggling in her business, and she started the business with passion, and she really put everything into it, and she grew a little bit, and she pulled back a little bit, and as the story goes on, she gets a lot of realizations from it. But the book really talks about 3 basic personality types, and I can identify with those. It's the technician. It's doing something that we love and thinking that we know how to do it because we've done it for someone else and we're tired of having a boss and we want to be our own boss. So as a technician, we are delivering the service of the product. And then it talks about the manager personality and especially the entrepreneur personality. What I found fascinating about the story is that the main character, she loved what she was doing, but she didn't see herself as an entrepreneur. And as the book goes on, she comes to realize that she's always seen herself as like a wild horse. And it's that wild horse, that spirit, that had gotten, fenced in, that was keeping her stuck in her business. And as she realized that she should no longer work so much in the business, that she was letting that wild horse run loose, and it freed her mind up to be able to really envision what the business could look like. And we can talk a little bit about systems and things like that in a bit, but I don't know if James or Sarah, you have a new book by Michael Gerber. What are your thoughts?
Well, mine don't. I haven't. I'm more interested right now in sort of pursuing this whole idea of the 3 types. You've got the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. So all 3 of these types might be starting a business, but only one of them is actually an entrepreneur. The other 2 are not entrepreneurs in the defined sense of what the word means, but they are people that, like you said, maybe had a really great skill set, and instead of working with somebody else as a plumber, for instance, they start their own plumbing business. But that doesn't mean they know how to manage a business or that they're truly creating something new, which is really what an entrepreneur is.
Yeah.
I think what they're saying, though, is all 3 personality types are within each of us, all business owners.
And so that perhaps for many people that are stuck working in their business, they're doing a little bit too much technician and not doing enough of the entrepreneur or the manager, stepping back and looking outside. Because that's what it means to me, is that whatever your business might be, as it grows, or as you put effort into growing it, you may be putting that effort into sort of the work that needs to get done in the trenches. If you owned a restaurant, cooking the food, waiting on the people, and doing the work, and therefore not outside of it, looking at it, saying, okay, these are the sales this year. Our goals are to, become a national company. How are we getting there? And those are when you're stepping outside of the business and not stuck in it. That's sort of how I see it. James, would you like to add to that?
I haven't. I actually got the EMyth here not too long ago, and I haven't read it, but I've heard lots of conversations around this, and if I'm hearing both you and Linda, um, it's hard to delegate things that we know we can do really well. And I think that's the technician side of us, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to hand some of those things over to others. And when I had my company in San Diego, we had 28 employees. And at first, it was very difficult to let others do that technical side. It was very artistic work. I had to teach this artistic skill set to individuals who this whole concept wasn't even necessarily on their radar. Most of the guys that came in and worked with me or for me did not have any background in this industry, and what I found is if you can take those skills and teach them to someone else, whether they're skills they come in with or skills that you're capable of teaching them. And I think as an entrepreneur, a lot of times the concepts, the ideas, the things that we're building, we're having to teach others how to implement this idea that we have. But as I did that, what I found is I had guys working with me that excelled beyond my skill set, and I then became a manager of that company as opposed to always having to work in the trenches. Now, I especially early on, I was still kind of a serial workaholic, which I'm still trying to work on breaking away from that to a degree. But I think I think maybe the hardest thing in doing that as an entrepreneur is delegating those different tasks and training people how to do what it is that you created.
So, willing to recognize that it might be time to let someone else do something, and that if you don't, your business can't grow. And then it sounds kind of like when you went through that experience with some of the people that actually were better at it than you, that they developed beyond what you had, that allowed you to sort of set that wild horse spirit kind of free that Linda was talking about. That when you step outside and work on it by putting in systems so that training can happen, so that maybe you have to work hard to teach this person something, but then they can go do it and you can do other things. And when you set up those kinds of systems, then the entrepreneur spirit of what else can we do? How are we going to grow this? How are we going to make it bigger? That can be unleashed. But if you continue to have your head buried in the work all the time, that can't happen.
Right.
Yeah, so I think systems there's the key, Sarah. What the book does talk about is when you go back to working in your business, start documenting all the processes of working in the business, just specifically how you want things done. So you can train someone from your documentation to have that consistency that you would have as you're doing it. And the minute that you actually hire someone to replace you, to follow that system that you've set out, you've automatically elevated your status up to manager, and then you're able to free your time as an entrepreneur and as a visionary to work more on the business than in it. But until you systematize, until you document, if you don't do that and you hire someone, it could be all over the place. It could be a good customer experience. It could be a bad customer experience. If nothing else, an inconsistent customer experience. So systems are the key to getting yourself out of being that technician stuck in your business to being able to elevate and move up to working on your business.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. That's, in fact, it's something that has become a passion for me, is creating something that's easily duplicatable and you can train people quickly. I think the other thing I think people struggle with, or entrepreneurs struggle with, is it's going to take me just as much time to train someone to do this as getting it done myself. And so even when we hire people in, we still tend to carry too much of a load because we haven't created that system so that it's easily trained and learned and then let go of.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know, before I became an entrepreneur, I had a stint in the corporate world, and I was a trainer. And we talked a lot about that, you know, the feeling that, okay, I could teach somebody how to do this, and that's like working with my arms tied behind my back while I'm doing it. The frustration level that you can feel while you're training, and being able to handle that so that you can get through it so that then the person can do the job, because there is no such thing as no training. There's just good training and bad training. And taking the time to figure out the systems seems to me to be the answer that you're talking about. And I would love to hear from both of you. How do you do that? I mean, does that mean that you evaluate your business at, you know, every 3 months or something, and sort of look at what kinds of systems have I got going? I haven't even thought about, you know, we talked last week about habits and things we just do automatically that our brain has set up for us so that it doesn't have to think so much. Well, some of those could be turned into systems maybe, but you have to sort of step back and go, oh, okay, you know, every day I do this, this, and this. That's a system that I could teach someone else. And so do you sit down and sort of analyze them every so often? How do you guys work on your businesses? Linda?
Oh, yes, I'm so stellar at this, Sarah.
Well, I'm sure there are things you do to work on your business, and sometimes it may be deliberate, and sometimes it just may happen, but you must have an example or two of things that you've done to really, and the results that you've gotten because you've done it. I mean, I know James and I worked on some stuff last week that made a big difference for me. I'll share in a minute.
Awesome. So, yeah, I think the system is really important because we do things mindlessly. You know, it's like driving our car, going somewhere. When we first started, it was like paying attention to absolutely everything, and now we're on autopilot and we do it. And I think as a technician, that's kind of true in our business. We just, you know, intuitively know and react to the situation as it comes, and we just do things. And it's difficult to identify every single thing and put it in writing and say, here, you're going to encounter this, and this is what you need to follow. So with that in mind, you know, knowing it's impossible, what you're trying to do is instill in people that are going to follow your system what your values are. And, well, I guess, who is it? Neiman Marcus or something or other has that philosophy where they empower their salespeople to be able to take care of customers on the spot, that they're allowed to think, they're allowed to make decisions that are in the best customer interest.
Yeah, make
so, you know, as we come up with our own systems as a technician, we might not get all that stuff out at once, but as it's done and it's written, and we have an opportunity to review it, and we have an opportunity to see someone else implement it, then that's where our manager and that's where our entrepreneurial personalities are going to come more into it, and they're going to help fine-tune those things. So as we develop those systems, as we, you know, get people in there to work more in the business and we work more on the business, it just is going to get better and better.
So would you say that I mean, we've discussed many times that you know, we if we're a one-person show, we grow and we grow and we sort of get to this point where we're straining, that I can't do all this anymore, but I don't know where I'm going to get the money to pay someone. So I keep trying to do it all myself. And that strain, that level, sometimes people just never let themselves go beyond it. They just cannot take that step to, okay, now I'm going to hire somebody or I'm going to be an employer. And is part of that because they've never done any kind of work on setting up systems, so they just can't even imagine how they would teach somebody. They have nothing they feel like they could just hand off and say, here, just do this, and now I can be more productive and I will make the money to pay you. I mean, is it truly a matter of you've got to set up systems? No matter what your business is, you should be spending 1 day a month or 1 day a quarter really looking at what are the systems that I'm following that I'm not really acknowledging, and how can I acknowledge them in a deliberate way so that I can move towards the point where someone else can do this. I mean, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think, we're going to end up drowning ourselves. So many businesses fail because that technician can just not get their head above water.
Mm-hmm.
They can't look at the business objectively and say, if things don't change, it's irreversible. And systems and putting someone, if you develop an organizational chart and you put your name in absolutely every single function in that organizational chart, that's how most of business owners are. They are filling all those positions, but they're not to the point where they've documented it, and they're not visualizing it, and they're not seeing that, oh my gosh, I have all these hats to wear, I'm the only one doing it. How do I get out of the situation that I'm in?
Mm-hmm.
And
what you said there, though, documenting it, that was one of the things early on. I have to admit, I didn't have a system or a plan in place when we grew our company to 28 employees. A lot of it was natural, but I think, but what my takeaway from that is a lot of the systems that I put in place today that I teach others to utilize, but documenting everything. And at first, you might spend every day revising your forms, revising, how. I think the hardest thing is creating reports, creating a way for people to report what they're doing, but also a report isn't necessarily them telling you what they've done, but a report tells them what they need to do. And I think that's one of the most difficult things we think of developing, is having those reports in place. And those reports really are that roadmap on what it is your job description is, what's expected of you, how do you implement it, when do you implement it, and at what point are you responsible to report back what has been accomplished based on that job description or based on those that set of criteria that's expected of you. And going to kind of what you said, Sarah, as far as how much time do you spend on it, I think in the beginning you spend almost every day on it. And then once you reach that point where you've got those outlines and those systems in place, then you can go to a bi-weekly or a weekly or a monthly, whatever it might be, to refine them, to get feedback from those people who are utilizing that system, and then you can. That's really where growth happens.
So we're almost out of time, and the last thing I want to do is leave people that are in that situation, so they are already drowning in their business. They aren't in a planning stage anymore. They've already started their business. It's already running. They're already wearing all those hats, and they might be saying, well, I get it, but what can I do now? How can I feel like I'm beginning to get a grip on this, because it's too late for me to just sit back and say, okay, I'm not going to do my business for 3 weeks while I sort this out. is there, I mean, maybe it's in the book, Linda, I don't know if I'm assuming there are some basic tips, which might be something like, okay, well, pick one of the jobs that you do. You're the marketer, you're the manager, you're the guy in the trenches, you're all these things. Pick one of those jobs, write a job description for it, write a little report to yourself. This is what I did this week, and this, I mean, begin to do it as if someone else was the person. I mean, that's the take I would go for. Any other ideas for someone that's already there and still has that, I want to grow this thing so that it's not my job that owns me, it's a business that serves me. Other ideas for where they can start with this, besides grabbing the book and reading it?
Well, for me, it's really about getting it out of your head. Because when you're the technician and you haven't documented everything, everything's in your head.
Yes.
Once you get it out of your head, you put it in paper, you've documented it, you create reports. Reports are really tools for objectively looking at things. It's how you start working on your business versus in your business, because your focus is shifted. You can see in black and white what the bank can see, what other stakeholders in your business can see. So get it out of your head, document it, do those.
I love that, and I had an experience with that this week when James and I talked earlier in the week, and he told me to go mess around with Cuckoo, I think is what it's called, this mind mapping program, because I had so much in my head. And I was resistant because in my former life I tried it once and hadn't liked it, but I was willing to go for it again. And the exercise of doing that, it awakens all sorts of ideas that you've forgotten you've had and helps you relate them. Okay, when I do this, then I'll be able to do this, and then I'll be able to do this. It helps you see that, geez, this is gigantic, and maybe I'm not going to do it all by myself. And it also gives you peace, because it's written down. And it's like once you've written it down or you've put it somewhere, I mean, this is written down on a computer program, but it's like it's taken care of. It doesn't mean it's done. You don't have to worry about it anymore. But it means you don't have to think about it right now because it's safe. It's over there in the corner. And it's really obvious these things I need to do first before I go over and do that. But I'm not going to forget it. It's not going to get lost. It's right here. And there's a real relief when you do that. And so, that's one of the first things that I would suggest to people is to do something like that, the mind mapping, where you really are relating all the different pieces that you've got in your head, putting them somewhere else. James, do you have a tidbit for something that really?
Well, yeah, and to just expound upon that just a little bit, by documenting your routine, your daily routine, what you do each day, by putting that on paper, and not only is it going to create a situation where now you're holding yourself responsible to this routine, making sure things get done. Because I think a lot of times we have things that need to be done, but if we don't have the expectation on ourselves, or if we haven't written it down, then it doesn't get done. So by documenting your routine, documenting your day, what you ultimately end up with is if something horrible happened to you or if something incapacitated you for a day, and you had someone who was bright and intelligent and sharp and had been watching you and had been paying attention, they can pick that agenda up or that job description, that routine. They can pick it up and then okay, I need to do this now, and as soon as I do that, I can do this, and by the time they're done, they get through the day, and maybe they haven't been 100%, but the job got done. Everything got done that needed to get done that day. Everything was accomplished, and now your business starts to move forward without you. Now, I'm not saying without you totally, but take 2 days away, take 2 days off, hand it over to somebody, and see what happens.
Yeah.
There were a lot of times when I'd have some employees come to me and say, here's what we're dealing with, here's what we got to do. What are we supposed? What do you want us to do? And I would literally look at them and say, you've been doing this now more hours. You've been spending more hours on this aspect of our business than I have. What do you think we should do next? And when you can say that with comfort to somebody who's working for you, and then take what they return back to you and implement it, that's when things change dynamically.
And that was the whole point. That's why you started a business, so that you could step away for 2 days and the thing would run by itself and money would still come in. I mean, that's really the big dream for most people. So taking the time to do this kind of work, which is maybe not what you planned on, you just thought, okay, I'll go out and I'll be a technician and I'll be a really good one and I'll charge a lot of money, and so then I'll just have a lot of money, but oops, wait a minute, there's all this other stuff. And it can't grow if I don't hire another technician once in a while or something. So taking the time to really, I would recommend for all of us that even if it's only an hour or two a week, looking at this and working on it, because that's the real long-term goal. And it's hard to remember maybe when you're in the trenches. But if you aren't taking even baby steps towards that, you'll never get there. And that's what you did it for. As far as I know, everyone I know that started a business, they have a dream of making something new and giving themselves some freedom. And there's work involved in that. So this is part of the work. And writing reports, figuring out what your systems need to be is just part of it. So get ready to learn it, because you're the leader of your business. We're out of time, you guys, again. Would you please, James, say goodbye? Tell us how we can reach you and what people want to reach you for, and then pass it off to Linda, and then I'll close it out.
Yeah, the best way to reach me is james@seemyspace.com. I'm a marketing strategist and online marketing expert, and love to help people get their message out and build their market share through this new digital age and through the online marketplace.
Great.
And I'm Linda, and I can be reached at lindak.com. And when you are ready to have your website be your first and full-time salesperson to replace you in that aspect, let me know. I enhance the website experience for your users and drive them to a call to action. Linda@lindak.com.
Great. Thank you, Linda. So I'm Sarah Coolidge. I want to say that we've been talking a lot about Michael Gerber and the EMyth. There's various EMyth books that he has written. Not new stuff, but still very impactful. This idea that you can't just be in the trenches every day. You have to get out sometimes and work on the business to get it as this giant ship to move the direction you want it to move. So you can find me at ceospacewest.com. CEO Space is an organization that helps you do that with your giant ship. We help you work on your business to move it in the direction you want it to move. So please check that out if you would like. Also, please like our YouTube channel. We're here every Monday morning. We've got lots of other videos, and we'd love to have you be looking at them. We will see you here next Monday. Have a fabulous week. Go out there and rock it, and slide into home base on Friday, really happy with what you did and how you move forward. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later. Bye.
See you guys.